Next up, we have the one and only, get a little excited. That's right, it's Nick Nurse, who is the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. He was recently named NBA Coach of the Year.
All right. Awesome, man. I like the bell. Let's keep ringing that bell every time we do something good here during this interview. How's that?
Absolutely. That's what I said. I've got entertainment value for you the whole time. So firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on being named Coach of the Year. But looking back to 2018, you were promised to be head coach, and this came after many years. Let's first talk about the longevity of your career and how it continued to strive for success.
Well, as most people know, I've come from a little small town in the middle of nowhere, really, right? Really humble beginnings. And a lot of people, when I got the job, were like, who? Even though I was already working on the staff. When they gave me the head coaching job, they were like, who's this Nick Nurse guy? My career spanned over 15 teams. 4 countries that I lived in and coached in. And it was just all in preparation, looking back now, of me becoming the Toronto Raptors head coach. I think the chances were long. I see some people say it was a 10,000 to 1 shot that I'd ever become an NBA head coach. I've seen it written where I've been 100,000 to 1 shot to become an NBA head coach. But really, like, the point of kind of my career, the point of me writing the book was to say, well, if I ever did get the shot, I wanted to be ready for it. And coaching all those places and honing my craft and trying to improve at each and every stop along the way, loving each and every job and team I coached along the way, and just extracting as much knowledge and experience as I could from those teams that I could put to use if I got to do it on a big stage someday. And luckily, thankfully, humbly, I was given the Toronto Raptors job and given a great team to coach.
Wait, we got to give that a bell. You're given the Toronto Raptors. That's right. Congratulations. What did you feel at that moment when you were given the Toronto Raptors?
Well, I certainly was excited. They kind of long drawn out process, right? I thought I was going to be a head coach in the NBA after my 5 years as an assistant for the Raptors, but Toronto was the last place I thought it was going to be. I was interviewing. There's about 5 or 6 other jobs open in the league: Charlotte, Phoenix, Detroit. I can't remember a few of the others, but I was interviewing with most of the teams. And then the Raptors decided to make a change in their head coaching position, so they interviewed me as well. But listen, I remember I was living in Liberty Village at the time in a condo. And
wait, Liberty Village, come on, downtown Toronto, here we go.
They called me up and said, we're talking to the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors. And I jumped on my bike and rode over to the practice facility to sign the contract. Obviously was super excited. But, had a plan. To get the job, I had to show them the plan I had in place. And then the second interview process that I went through with them, first one was about 5 hours long. The second one was about 5 hours long. But in the second one, I laid out the 12-month plan. If you give me the job today and we start tomorrow, here's what the next 12 months are going to look like. And I went through every little kind of nook and cranny and every little no stone unturned from we're going to fly in at this day and we're going to take this day off and we're going to practice at this time and we got a game here and all those kind of things to get through. So I was tremendously excited to answer your question, but I was already kind of shifting in gear to work mode and getting those plans that I'd already kind of showed them, getting them cooking, man, getting them ready to go,
I like it. We're cooking. We're getting ready to go. So with that, that's a good story. And now we're going to talk about like your younger self. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, well, geez.
I know. How young do we want to go?
No, I mean, like, listen, I kind of joke around about it a little bit. I have a lot of young coaches that ask me, hey, what advice can you give me, or what should I do? I want to get to where you got someday, and what should I do? And I a lot of times I joke around and say, don't take the path don't take the path I took, man. It was way too hard. But I look back and I wouldn't, man, I loved every one of those teams I coached, from Derby, England, to Enid, Oklahoma, to Ostend, Belgium, to McAllen, Texas, to Des Moines, Iowa, some pretty random and remote places, but I wouldn't trade it in for anything. I really wouldn't. So that's one thing. I did it the way it turned out for me. So I look back and say, well, what advice would I give myself as a younger coach? Was probably just to continue. I mean, I think I was really trying each and every year to, what more could I learn? How could I get better? How could I become a better coach? And I tried to, again, not just in like what most people would think is coaching, like the X's and O's or the strategies and stuff of basketball. I always say that's only like 15% of what I do, but I was looking at leadership and chemistry and sports psychology.
So tell me, so how did you get there? Like, how did you go about asking yourself those questions? Were those just questions that you would ask yourself, that you were just kind of turning inward and seeing what kind of intuitively what connected to you, or was there something more?
Well, I think it was just a deep innate curiosity, or like it was more. I kind of have this this characteristic of, man, there's got to be a better way to do it than this. Just like there's got to be more to it than this. There's got to be a faster way to teach it. There's got to be a better way that our players can learn. There's got to be a visual that they can see more clearly. I don't know. And that was kind of it. And I think that I'd sit there and I'd sit around with all these coaches who were, constantly drawing plays or working on how to teach these skills. And I'd be thinking about, there's got to be more to it than this. There's got to be, how can I communicate with them better? How can I teach better? How can I get them to dream bigger? How can I get them to see they can become more than they even think they can become?
When you were asking yourself those questions, or going through that curiosity, rather, do you remember anything that stood out to you?
Well, I would say that I was, again, put in some unique situations that made me think differently. I don't know, when I was at university, for whatever reason, I got attracted to our American football coach. He taught a sports psychology class at the university. He wrote a book called Freedom in the Huddle, which was basically based on democratic principles of leadership, involving everyone, giving the players ownership, listening to them. He coached from the press box. He didn't stand on the sideline, and I'd be at the games myself, and I'd see him walking up the stairs to the press box before the game, and I thought it was so interesting. And he was so successful on smaller stages, little small college here, little small college there. He actually coached in the CFL, Montreal. And, he just was a worldly guy that was way ahead of his time. And here I was taking his class and reading his books and having conversations with him. And I think that opened up, I don't know, lifelong study. Something I really believe in is studying, I don't know, the whole picture. And I think human performance. I
agree. It's like a combination of human behavior. Yes. When you, especially, I call it going inward, where you're really going inward, where's that passion come from? Where's that insight come from? All of those things. And there's got to be a greater meaning to life. And it sounds like you've done that a couple of times in this process. And obviously you've got a passion for basketball, but what drives that passion?
It's really simple. Right. I mean, there's one hand, I really love the game and I love the team aspect of it and all this, but I always tell the players we got two goals, right? One is to win. I hate to say it, but they keep score, and that's how we're judged in this business, right? And the other one is that we increase your value in the marketplace, right? So what really turns me on, what really brings the passion for me as a coach.
We're gonna get ready for this.
is when you take a young player and you work and you talk and talk and talk and you develop them into a superstar, or just much better. Like I say, increase their value in the marketplace so they can survive, provide for their family. They can reach their dreams and visions. That's why I do what I do.
That is so sweet. That is. Is there a story that stands out to you the most when you think about all of the players' lives, some of them that you've touched in so many ways?
I can rip off a ton of them. Fred VanVleet is one, right? He just signed a, I don't know, $85 million contract. He was undrafted 4 years ago.
Wow.
And just being able to fight for him to get him on the floor, originally, give him a great role when I became head coach, develop things that on the court of shooting, have him believe in himself, give him opportunities to succeed. Pascal Siakam's another one. Again, was a late draft pick, and nobody thought he'd be where he is today, 3 or 4 years later. And another one that's probably even more important is my assistant coach, Nate Bjorkgren, who was by my side for many years in the minor leagues and by my side for 2 years at the Raptors, just became the head coach of the Indiana Pacers. And that's gratifying that you can not only.
And he deserves this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you a little secret. This bell, okay, originally I was going to use clappers today. So I've got a combination of stuff. I've got balloons ready for you. We've got like clappers. And then last night I got a message from a past president. And past President John Meehan messaged me and said, Lisa, you just keep using the bell because the bell sounds so much better. So so this bell is courtesy of John Meehan, and he said, you make sure you use it for Nick. So here you go.
I like it.
Great story. And of course, you mentioned coach. And we've talked about a couple of coaches in your life from you were saying university until in recent. When did you decide that that's really what I wanted to do? And that's where I got to go.
Yeah, it was my senior year at university. I was at the start of my senior year. I knew I had 1 year left of playing basketball and that my career was probably coming to an end. And I was in the accounting program. I was going to get I got a degree in accounting at the University of Northern Iowa, but I just felt like I'd poured my heart and soul and guts into basketball, and I didn't really want to walk away from it quite yet. So I finished up the accounting degree and went and talked to my coach and said, I think I want to be a coach so I can stay around the game. And he said, okay, then hang around. I'll let you be an assistant here next year. And I don't know, that was a lot of years ago, 30 years. I don't know. I don't want to date myself, but that was a long time ago. And I'm still coaching now.
For a second because I got to introduce somebody to you.
Okay.
And his name is John D. Michel. He is the CEO of TRREB, and I'm going to give him a little ding. And I am going to move over so that he can come in and say hello.
All right.
Hey, how are you? Right,
yeah, come on in. Come on in so I can see you. Hi. Hi, John. How are you?
Really good. How you doing?
Good. I'm awesome. Very nice to virtually meet you the way we have to meet these days, but nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Great to meet you. Great job. I was actually at Game 5. I thought that was going to be something special. No, I was just going to ask.
I'm hanging out with John.
Keep everybody so focused.
Yeah.
I mean that's a difficult thing, and I have to do that with certain people myself. And but in that case, all that energy, all that focus on that, and then try to keep the team focused. That takes great leadership. So I'm just curious what you were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that there's a lot that goes into that, John. One is we really, when you're into this playoff run, there's certainly a lot of external noise going on, right? I mean, the whole country's watching, the whole world's watching. There's 20,000 fans. There's another 15,000 fans, 20,000 fans outside. There's 59 Jurassic Parks around the country. I mean, there's a lot. There's every move everybody makes from in between days is being scrutinized all day long on television, all day long on radio. So the first thing you do is we try to kind of get in our own world and not really partake in any of that, right? Like I didn't turn on my TV for 2 months. I didn't even want to accidentally turn it on and watch some stuff scrolling across the screen about, how big a mistake Coach Nurse made calling that timeout, or how great Coach Nurse was for calling that time. I didn't want either way to affect me, and the players do pretty much do the same. That's one thing. Two is we pretty much resign ourselves to the fact that we're not going to win every game. We're not going into a series to sweep these guys. Yeah, would we love to? Yes, we would, but we understand how good they are, and they've got good players, and they've got good coaches, and the ball bounces one way one night and one way another, and sometimes you just kind of have to play through a 6 or 7 game series, and just knowing, I think most of the time we thought we were the best team. Like once we got into the series, okay, we're better than Philly, and it took us 7, it took us all the way down there, but we're going to figure it out. And even when we got down 2 games to Milwaukee, we were like, okay, let's beat them 4-2 because we're better. And even when we were playing Golden State, okay, we probably should have won it in game 5 where you were there, or even in 4 maybe, but we didn't. Again, the ball just didn't, we just about had it, but you kind of just accept that fact and that there's more work to do. And that kind of keeps you from like, well, getting overjoyed when you're winning the series or getting despondent when you're losing it, because it's kind of part of it. But you do have to address it beforehand, and you do have to address it as you go. We went 1-1 with Golden State. I came into the locker room and said, listen, obviously not the result we wanted, but let's just get on the plane and let's go get one of the 2 games at Golden State, and we'll be right back to having our home court advantage. And thankfully, Kawhi was sitting over there on the side. And he said, fuck that. We're going to go win 2. Right. And then everybody heard that, and that kind of the motivate, he sets a tone, I'm softening a tone, and then he kind of raises it up a level. And that's kind of part of this ownership and collaborative effort. And I don't
That's kind of like here. I raise it and he's got to follow.
There you go. I'm sure it works the same in your industry as well.
Yeah, I just see that, but you bring such almost a human aspect to it. Like, love your demeanor. You've got the passion. You seem to be focused all the time. But it's that personal connection. And I think as a fan, it's easy. I appreciate it so much. I think most people appreciate that part. There's a connection, and I wish we could have that kind of skill. And somehow you got to be able to bottle that. I think I'd like to buy it, but I think you've really as a coach, and I would address you as coach even now, because it's important for I played sports and had that opportunity. But when you see that type of leadership and dealing with the talent, and they're so good, and it's exciting to watch. But as a coach and as a leader, it's something that we all want to learn to be able to maintain that human aspect and even convey it at all times. So it's really exciting to see what and the prospect of this year too, considering changes and whatnot. So really appreciate it. So I don't want to take up a lot of time, but thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me.
You can ring the bell, please, for he likes the bell.
So thank you. Great to chat.
Nick, you're good so far?
I'm awesome. Are you good?
All right.
You happy with
So
how
are you
this
up
is
for
rolling?
some fun? Do you like fun?
Yeah, I'm up for some fun.
All right.
Of course I'm up for some fun.
Okay, so
Loaded.
I've got a trivia question for you.
Trivia. All right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What NBA team had a 72-10 record during the 1996 regular season?
Chicago Bulls.
That was too easy.
It wasn't.
All right.
I watched all 82 of those games about 20 times on a VHS tape. That's how come I knew the answer to that. But there you go.
Okay, so knowing that you've watched it 82 times,
Yep.
what did you get from it? Was there a difference as you replayed?
Well, interesting story. So I'm in Birmingham, England. I'm about, 26, 27, 28 years old. I don't know, something like that. But I'm fully committed now to trying to figure out and learn my craft. I've decided this is what I want to do, coach professional basketball. Now I got to find out if I'm any good at it. So I go to the place where everybody goes to hone their craft at basketball, England. That was a joke.
Of course. You meant to say Toronto, right? Sorry. A little slow.
So
Even the crew back here is slow. They're all like,
yeah,
yeah, England. Really? England. We're all sitting here like, yeah,
basketball
okay,
power.
we'll go to
Yeah.
England. Hello, basketball, Canada.
Yeah, right. So anyway, this is kind of pre-internet days and there's games on TV all over the place, and I was
You're like kind
hungry.
of dating yourself to sound like you're like,
I have to tell the story, right? Or it wouldn't make any sense. When I tell this live in front of anybody under the age of 25, I have to like bring a VHS. So I ordered these VHS tapes. I have to bring them and show them what one is because they don't even know, right? So I ordered these VHS tapes, and they were all the Chicago Bulls games. So every Friday, they'd be a knock on my door, and they'd deliver me these games, usually 3 or 4 games on a VHS tape. There was nothing else basketball-wise to watch on TV in England ever. So I just watched them over and over and over. I was running the offense that the Chicago Bulls was running. It's famously called the triangle offense. I was running it with the team, the Birmingham Bullets I was coaching. But what happened was I was studying their coach, Phil Jackson, indirectly. I was seeing his play calls, his timeouts, his substitutions, all the things, how he moved as a coach. And I always tell people that he was my mentor. He had no idea. He wasn't really involved in the mentorship, but he was probably one of, if not my biggest mentor as a coach, studying those games over and over. So that's how I knew the answer to that trivia question. And that wasn't even
I've got more trivia
that
if
wasn't
you want
even
to play,
pre-planned.
but that's a really good story. I mean, ultimately, so you actually took time and studied every play. And I guess that's also part of success when you think about it, right? It's not about replaying it for the fun of it. It's like, okay, what did I see the first time around versus the second time around versus the third time around? And that's a good point. Like there's a great book out there, and I can't think of the name, and it talks about the different styles of leadership. So it's like when you enter a room, it's one thing that you see. But when you go up onto the balcony, you see a different aspect, right? And that's kind of like watching those replays, because you're watching rerun, okay, what worked there, what didn't work there. And of course, on that line of success, and the success of the Raptors is clear, I can only imagine the pressure that required to perform well was also a challenge. So how do you stay focused while you're under pressure?
Well, the funny thing is,
I know you need one of these.
you give me a bell for staying focused. Well, the funny thing is the deeper we went in the playoff toward the championships, the calmer I seemed to be day to day and even on the court. And I don't know, where does that come from? I mean, there's some mental work, there's some mental training, there's some things you're doing to prepare for that. But I think most of it comes from belief that you've put the work in. And 25 years later, after watching all those game films, I was given a chance to execute it. And I just felt like I could handle any situation. You know, maybe it was a bit of overconfidence, but I felt I was ready. I felt like I had studied enough. I felt like I'd prepared. And when a situation came up, I'd already talked through it with the team, or I'd already talked through it with my coaches, or we were going to be able to handle anything that came up.
I like it.
Yep.
And when you know you're ready, you just know, and you go and you flow. That's how I believe it. And that also leads me to like thinking about the team. So you led a team to championship status, and effective teamwork was obviously an element to getting to that part. Although we're entrepreneurs ourselves, there's times we work as teams as well. And I think it's fair to say you can offer some pointers. Any suggestions, pointers, recommendations that you would give to teams?
Well, that's kind of like a billion-dollar question, right? Like, how do teams work? How do you formulate? What do you do to promote teamwork?
That's actually, like, let's start there. There. So in building a team, what strategies or components should we consider in building a team? Like for me, I'm a big energy person, so the energy's got to feel right.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a complex answer, but let me start in on it, right? I think it's very complex, but let me start in on it. So what are the things that I did when I was the head coach? Well, I had a vision, and the vision was to win the championship, right? That is it. Okay.
I had to.
Yeah, that's cool. And closely aligned with that vision is you better have a really good detailed plan that the players can buy into and learn, right? So they believe that the vision's possible. You can't, anybody can say, hey, we want to win the championship, rah, rah, rah. Well, it doesn't, that's just kind of the goal, the vision, but quickly you better have a plan that's put in there. And I'll echo what you just said. When I was giving my first talk to the team the night before training camp started in 2018, I was building this pyramid, coliseum, or whatever, of all my beliefs. There's pillars and this and that of how we're going to play. And the first block on there was expect to win. The second block on there was energy, what you just said. And I believe two things. One, you're either giving energy or you're taking it as part of a team, right? And we want to be givers, right? We want to be givers. And that's just like a big one for my staff. Like my staff leaves their office buildings and hits the floor. Man, it's energy time. Like give to the players. That's what they're here for. And then the second thing is we want to manage our energy correctly. What do I mean by that? Well, what I really care about, or what we're really judged on, or what really matters the most to us is what our energy's like at 7:30 p.m. when the ball goes up. Right? So I gotta rejuvenate that energy. I gotta recultivate it.
You gotta get the adrenaline running. Yes.
All of it, whatever it is. But there's some give and take to rest and recuperation, not overdo. There's some thought put into peak energy moments, so that we use it as kind of a double. But you can see how important it is up there, way high on our kind of how we value things. So. There's many more things when we're talking about teamwork we could talk about, but there's developing roles, accepting roles. There's a really defined plan of action. Like, here's the shots you shoot. Don't stray away from those. We all know that these is what you're good at. We need you to play to your strengths. We're going to hide some of your weaknesses, play to your strength. All the team knows you're going to take these shots. So when you do, we're going to be okay with it. And when you don't, we're not going to be okay with it. So don't, just things like that you're constantly developing roles and accepting roles and teamwork and trying to fit all the pieces to the puzzle together. I'm going to stop talking now.
Excuse me. Okay, so building on that, because, like you said, I'm a big component, just like you, energy, give, receive, and it's constantly, and we've also got to balance it. But building on that, realtors are also constantly in that zone of connecting with clients and consumers, and just as you are building reports with other teams and coaches. So what are effective ways that you do that, or you've found that works for you?
Well, I've my most critical relationships obviously are with the players, right? And my staff, but they're closely related. Listen, I got to find out what's important to them. I want to know where they see themselves. I want to know where they see themselves going. I want to know what they're dreaming about. I want to know what their goal is. Okay. And then once we've kind of hashed that out a little bit, then it's my job to kind of formulate a plan to help them reach their own goals. And I'm cool. Like, we're talking about teamwork here, but we're also talking about individuals, and there's a big chunk of my book that talks about, I have to address their selfish individual needs. It's reality. It's a world that we're living in. Yeah, they want to get a bigger contract or a longer contract, or they want to be able to make a longer living. And it's just, it's how they live and breathe. And I want to help them get there, and then tie it closely to our team framework, right? We're kind of pulling all this stuff together, as I'm sure you guys are too. But that's the main thing. Get to know.
So it really comes down to service. I mean, that's what you brought up. At the end of the day, it's like you said, I want to help them. So how do I go about helping them? And then going in through those steps, and then figuring out, okay, what strategies work, and then it's building the relationships and taking those relationships to the next point. So like TRREB, the NBA also had to pause, adjust to our current environment. I'm actually tired of pivot. So I'm now about shake. Let's shake. It's the one thing we can't do in Toronto is dance anymore. So
I'm tired of pivot too, so I'm with you.
let's go with a new word, shake. Like 2021 deserves a new word. Here we go, shake. Is there anything that you found has worked well to adjust to abrupt changes?
Well, I think that, just some flexibility, right? Super flexibility. Again, you hear me say this all the time. Like when I speak to the team or my staff, I say, at this current moment, this is all the information I have, but things are changing. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, would we like to rigidly plan everything out and tick it off the boxes as we go? Of course, but it's not going to happen that way right now. And
so
if
when you go through that moment, do you go through a little bit of like adrenaline junkie there too? Because every moment is changing, especially when you've got your game on, it's 7:30, like you said, and here's you're like, anything can happen at this point. And is the adrenaline running?
Not really. Not really. Let me explain why. It's because, again, my training in all these backwater, out in the sticks teams that I coached my whole life, players were coming and going all the time and moving up and going to bigger jobs and this and that, and I had to shake a lot.
I like it. We had to shake.
I had to shake. I had to what I call coach kind of by the seat of my pants, or be a bit of a I don't know, just had to be ready for changes, right? I had to be flexible. It
sounds like you were more in a prepared state because you were going in already knowing X, Y, C, A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z is going to happen. And so I'm just going to like breathe through it.
100%. And I think that breathe through it's good. Let it move through you. I use that a lot. I just don't let
it move through you. That's going to be our 2021 phrase, courtesy of Nick Nurse. Yes.
In the bell. I just don't let change bother me like some people. I really don't. It's part of my job. It's part of my training. It's certainly part of the world we live in right now. And I embrace it. How about that? Let's embrace.
I love it. Let's make that 2021. Well, that was kind of 2020 too, because we've had to embrace all of it. We brought up the awareness, we brought up embrace, and now we got to go into 2021. So before I ask you any other further questions, what words of wisdom are you putting out for 2021?
I got a bunch of them, but the one I'm leading with is, people always say, hey, it's going to be okay. And I agree, it's going to be okay. And then I usually follow that up as, yeah, but we got to make it okay.
That's it. Can you say it again? Because we're going to give it a bell.
I usually throw an F-bomb in there, but I won't do that for this. But I say that.
You're okay with that.
Yeah, we got to make it okay is really, if you want to cut it down to one thing, things are going to be okay, but we got to make it okay. How about that one? That's going right off my board I'm looking at right now for my big preseason speech. So let's not let that one spread around too much.
We'll keep it member friendly at the moment. What they do with it after, I don't know. But I'm sure I'm going to hear that word in 2020. From December going into 2021, we're going to hear your words all over. So what else do you have on the go? Like, what's the next plan? What are you working on?
Oh, I have tons of things on the go. As you know, I just released a book, kind of recounting my journey to becoming the Raptors coach, and we had to add a couple chapters since we won the title. So that was a really fun project. Nice to look back on that. Started my foundation.
You know what? We're going to promote your book. I mean, the holiday season's up. So if you want something to check out his latest book. The name of the latest book is called again?
Rapture.
Here we go. Rapture. Pick up your copy of Rapture. Actually, you can't pick up at the moment, but you can totally order it online. Let's support Nick. There we go. He's got a copy of the book. We'll give him a... I think I'm going to be tired of this bell at the end of it. But now I'm going to go back a little bit here. And we focus so much time on our business, but it's so important to take some time to ourselves. And I know I know you probably experience this all the time. I mean, right now you're experiencing Thanksgiving. What do you do to unplug at the end of the day?
A lot of things, but most people know I really like music. I've got a huge vinyl collection, so I like to throw on some vinyl and listen to music. I'm also
Is there any particular, or is there any particular, I can't even speak today. I'm like, excuse me. Is there any particular genre that you like?
I'm going to answer like everybody answers. No, I like all kinds of music, depending on what mood I'm in. I really like blues, jazz, piano, but I do like a lot of different things too. So, but I'm also learning to play the guitar and I'm learning to play the piano. So I like to spend a lot of time doing that. I would say is my unplugged moments, which I take fairly frequently throughout the day just to play.
So have you ever shown, like, has anyone ever seen you play the piano? Because we'd love to see that. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, they have. I actually went on stage with the Arkells after we won the championship in front of 17,000 people at Bud's stage, and never was so frightened in all my life. It's not really take me back to the NBA Finals coaching any day of the week, but it was amazing to do. And I've played a little bit of piano and on some certain things. So, but anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so moving on. So we've just learned a couple of things that Nick does to unplug. So we definitely, I agree with you, music is a big one. And with that in mind, Toronto has become a second home to you. What are some of your favorite spots in the city, and what do you think makes Toronto so unique?
Let's answer the second part first. I love the just general vibe of the city. Love how you can see people from all over the world when you're walking down the street. Love the cultural diversity. Love the culture, all the music that's here, all the theater that's here, the symphony orchestra, whatever. I try to get out and see some of that. Great restaurants, obviously. What are some of my hangouts? I don't know if I should probably give those out. I mean, I don't get out that much, and when I do, I just there's a couple.
Okay, is there a favorite spot in the city? Any favorite spots that you like to?
There's some great live music places that I go and hide out and try to enjoy some live. I love listening to live music, so that's what I would say I do. I don't get many nights like that, but when I do, probably what I'm going to do is going to go listen. I got some buddies in the music industry that are playing. If I get a chance to go down and listen to them play for an hour or two some night, I try to sneak it in real quick.
Well, let's hope that's all part of 2021's plan, that you get to be back here in Toronto, second home, and of course, checking out some of your secret spots, but it's okay. You can share with us later. And let's talk about the Nick Nurse Foundation.
Yay.
It's dedicated to supporting children and young adults through exposure to resources that contribute to the ability to develop, grow, and succeed in life. We're also heavily involved in charities across the GTA. What made you kickstart this initiative?
Well, just very humbly been given an amazing platform, right? By being the coach of the Raptors, being the coach of the Canadian national team. Just wanted to use that platform to give back. I love basketball, so we have a basketball track. This is one of the things that we sell for the foundation. It teaches kids how to shoot. It has a reading track. I love books, so we'll be giving out lots of books and doing some reading programs. And I love music, as we've already talked about. So we buy instruments, we give lessons, hopefully put these kids in some bands, and hopefully get them out on stage again when we're allowed to do that. So just those three tracks of giving back. Luckily, we've got lots of things. My famous hat, the NN hat, is on there. That all the proceeds go back to the foundation and go back to the kids of Toronto. So we're excited
amazing.
about it.
You know what? And I am totally going to log on to your foundation. I'm going to get one of your hats. As much as I love this one, I totally want one of yours. And that way, the next time you're in Toronto, hopefully I get it autographed. I'll just have to carry this. I'll have to carry this moment together. I'll be like, okay, Nixon down. Yes, let's hit him up. But no, for real, I'm serious. I'm going to encourage so many others to check out Nick Nurse Foundation, doing wonderful things. Of course, anything that's connected to children, generations to come, and music are important. And of course, I'm going to ask you if you could share with us any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you read my book or look at my book, I kind of wrap it up like this: is, you know, the journey of life, let's say, is you know, taking each and every opportunity and putting your most into it. Really, Again, I loved every job I had, even when I was really young. I poured my heart and soul into it. I really focused on trying to learn and get better, not just do the job, but do the job to the best of my ability, but figure out how to grow in that job as well, and look at every little area that I thought I could improve in. And again, if you're going to do that over an accumulation of years, you start to improve, you start to get experience, you start to believe in yourself, you start to get confidence. And then if you are given a big opportunity, like I was, you're ready for it. And you know you're ready for it. And it just kind of seems like what you've been doing your whole life.
Thank you. And Nick, thank you for being here today. You've been phenomenal. There are so many things that you said that carry with me, and I'm sure it carries with many of our members. And on behalf of 57,000 members of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, we thank you.